Oh, good evening and welcome to Vlogmas Day 3. I am your host, Pamela Curtis, and I have a migraine tonight. So, yeah. Shell, hello. Lawrence, hello. Survival never goes out of style. It's okay. I get migraines so regularly. This is my curse. This is what originally disabled me was a migraine that lasted for 4.5 years, and I have them pretty regularly ever since. So, Shell, hello, Shell. How are you? Uh, it's okay. It's okay. This is I don't get them uh as well without the Botox and the Aimovig. Um I don't get them that often to the point where they kind of incapacitate me like this. Right now I'm kind of incapacitated. I'm on as much medication as I can take and there's no more and I just have to deal with the rest of the pain. And I I just realized that I missed my last Botox appointment because I got COVID. So that's probably why I'm not doing so well tonight. But I wanted to be here to document this, be here for you guys anyway, and not break my whole Vlogmas schedule. So I'm just gonna push through it. So Shell asks, I used to get them so bad she would throw up and miss work. They gave me pills for migraines for nausea. Yeah, I mean, thank God the nausea isn't as bad as it used to be. I used to be on Phenergan for nausea because, yeah, the vomiting was just, oh my gosh. And, I would take pills and my stomach would atrophy and the pills wouldn't get into my system and it just and then once the migraine was gone the pills would suddenly flood into my system and yeah it was a bad scene. So but yeah, so I usually don't use pills for migraines, but I took a Tylenol a night. Who knows whether or not it's actually in my system now. I don't know, but the nausea is not anywhere near what it used to be. I do have Reglan for it just in case, which is the alternate medicine to Phenergan. Because Phenergan you can only take like a couple of days a week, or it starts causing neurological damage or something like that. Oh my gosh, I can feel it right in the back of my head here. And so on a scale of 1 to 10, this is about a 7. So let me explain my pain scale to you. A 2 is I don't even notice. Um, 5 is where I start noticing the pain, and but I can generally ignore it, with no problems. Oh, and my eyes are doing something funny. One eye is open, so yeah. Um, and what was I talking about? It's the aphasia. You lose track of everything, words and stuff like that. A friend of mine who got migraines regularly, she was a linguist, and her doctor knew that she was in a lot of pain. She had gone into the office. She couldn't remember the word for pain. So she said, make the head hurtiness stop. So that's how he knew how bad she was. Oh, I was doing my pain scale. So at 5, I'll notice the pain. That's when I start noticing the pain. And you can stop whining anytime now. I am so sound sensitive right now. Stop it. Um, 5 is where I start noticing the pain. 6 is where I have to use some sort of distraction. And when I say distraction, I mean like I've got the TV going and I'm playing a game on my iPad at the same time. Um, and that's a level 6. A level 7, you've got to medicate. There's no way around it. You've got to medicate. A level 8, that's when I start thinking about going to the ER. And unfortunately, because of the medication that I'm on these days, the ER wouldn't be able to help because I'm on a medication that is a opioid receptor blocker or something like that. It's basically Suboxone. And so anything that they can give to me in the ER wouldn't do anything. And Suboxone has a ceiling as far as how much help it can give. So I've got Tylenol, I've got Advil, I've got Red Bull, and that's it. There you go. That's a good doggy. Oh. So level 9, absolutely have to go to the ER. I haven't had a level 9 in 10 years at least, thank God. Level 10, I can't even reality. Level 10 is a living hell. It's like Nietzsche's abyss, and you're down in the bottom of it, and you can't breathe, you can't talk, you know, you lose your sense of self. There is just pain, and that is all there is in the world. But I haven't had one of those in a long time. And by comparison, my worst kidney stone only went up to a level 8, 8.5, somewhere in there. So, Survival says, my wife gets bad migraines too. I feel for you. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. The thing that Lawrence says, I will be praying for you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, the thing that I hate is how they interrupt my life. It's like I'd much rather be doing the vlog stream that I had planned, you know, and I understand now that the doldrums that I was feeling earlier, the depression, was what they call a oh my gosh. I will be right back. Stop now. I love my dogs. I love my dogs. I love my dogs. I love my dogs. See, I've even trained him to have an inside bark because my migraines get this bad. He knows better. But yeah, my doldrums, my depression, my bad mood earlier this morning was because it was a migraine prodrome. And what happens with a migraine, and I've written papers on this, your body actually dumps your entire supply of serotonin, not only from your blood, but from your brain, and you pee it out. And so that affects your mood. And so you'll have incredible, crazy mood swings, you know, because serotonin is not just a mood chemical, which everybody knows from the antidepressant commercials, but it's got like 500 different functions in the body. It helps control blood pressure, vasodilation, vasoconstriction. Those are both serotonin and dopamine. So like if you get a scratch on your arm, you'll see how it first turns white and then it turns red. And so that's the vasoconstriction, which is the serotonin, and then that's to clamp down on the blood flow and keep any bacteria from getting into the wound. And then you have the vasodilation, and that's dopamine, and that helps the blood rush back into the area to send all those healing chemicals in there, which includes bradykinin, substance P, histamine, a whole bunch of other things. And so when you get a migraine, it's actually somewhere in the blood-brain barrier around your head there's usually like a spot you can point to and go, the migraine's right there. Well, that's where the blood-brain barrier has become leaky. And so your brain thinks you have a head injury, and it's rushing all of and that spot hurts now. I shouldn't have touched that. That was a bad idea. So your your body rushes all these healing chemicals to that area to try and heal it, but all it does is it creates this cycle that just goes around and around and around and around and around, and escalates the pain through the roof. Um, so you know, I w- I was on every medication for migraines and for pain that they had available, every single one of them, to the point where I was allowed to enter the study for the occipital nerve stimulator. And that was, they made me a bionic woman, and they put a bionic device in my body. And it was this little thing, and it delivered an electric charge to my occipital nerves, which are these two nerves that run along the back of your head. So, like if you tilt your head and you feel where those tendons are and where they go and they attach to the back of your brain back there, or the back of your skull back there, that's where the occipital nerves are, and that's one of the um, key components in the whole migraine merry-go-round cycle thing. And so the idea of the experiment is that if you send a bunch of electrical current to those nerves, it's like white noise. It's like sending static down a line, and it can interrupt that whole merry-go-round process, kind of like throwing a wrench in the machine. Um, and it worked. I mean, it stopped the 4.5 year migraine. I'll give it to it. It worked. But it's a heck of a drastic thing to do. And when I talked to one of my pain doctors up here recently, a couple of years ago, you know, I came into her and I said, yeah, chronic pain patient, chronic migraines. And she's like, have you tried this? And I was like, yes. And she said, have you tried this? Yes. Have you tried this? I stopped her and I said, I was in the occipital nerve stimulator study. And she said, oh, you really have tried everything. I was like, yes. So right now, the only thing, I mean, and that's the scary part of a chronic illness and being sick with, you know, rare diseases and other stuff like that, is that you can get to the limits of medical science. You know, science doesn't know everything, and you get past what they know and you enter into here there be dragons land. So I am well off in here there be dragons land. And so you know, we did Botox. I remember when that was first approved for migraines. And for a while there, Medicare didn't even let you get Botox. I had to do it out of pocket. Um, and then Aimovig came around last year, and that was a godsend, but that was also a pain to get Medicare to approve. And even with the Medicare approval, it's expensive. Um, I think out of pocket, it's like $500 a month for one medication. And that's not as bad as some medications that are out there. I mean, granted, I know there are worse horror stories, but that one's a doozy. So, um, yeah, survival, it does suck. It does suck. Um, yeah, but what can I do? I mean, I'm in it. I got to deal with it. I got to, you know, carry on with my life. I got to not let it get me down. um, you know, all of that. And to a certain extent, I can't help that it gets me down because it messes with my brain chemicals. Um, so, you know, there's a certain amount of, you know, the key to walking through hell is don't stop. You know, that's all you can really do sometimes. So, oh, that was for Shell. Sorry. Um, so yeah, if you've got any questions, or if you want to do the original topic of dealing with the doldrums and depression and stuff like that, you know, let me know. Because, I mean, me no thinky so well right now. Me no thinky so well right now. And, oh, here's an interesting thing. That spot that you can point to and say, this is where it hurts. You know, they used to cut open people's skulls. They used to, what was called either trepanation or trephination. I think both names are uh, what's the word? Appropriate. That's not the right word, but both pronunciations work. And it's where, like they found in prehistoric skulls that they had cut into people's brains. And what was amazing is that they found that according to the healing patterns of the bone, sometimes they cut into these people's brains 2 and 3 times. And in their culture, it was to let the demons out, but it would actually work, which is why they would repeat the procedure. And what it is when you actually give the head, the brain, the body something to heal there, those chemicals get used up. And so, cutting a hole in your head is actually a viable way to treat migraines, which I got a dark sense of humor sometimes, and that just tickles me pink. So, yeah, I got a hole in my head. Mm. And that's what I used to call it sometimes, is my 2 little gnomes. I've got 2 gnomes that live in there, my migraine gnomes. And one of them has one of those old drill presses where you have to put your shoulder to it and you hand crank it, and he's drilling out from the inside of my head. And the other one's got a pickaxe. And he'll do that where it's like that sudden jarring electric ice pick pain. So yeah, those are my 2 migraine gnomes. And it used to be that I had 2 spots that they went to, but when we started all the migraine treatment, they started moving around, so they'd go to different spots. Like sometimes it would be right up here, there. But right now, it feels like they've got pulleys on the back of my neck, and they're just yanking, just slowly making that tension tighter and tighter, and oh my gosh. And yeah, I mean, literally beating my head against a wall sometimes to make the pain less. So, um, and it works. I mean, you do it works. You do it works. Even when when you're in that amount of pain, you don't care that it's destructive. Um, because it's what I say about the problem with the whole opioid crisis. It's like, um, the desperation of drug seeking looks exactly the same as the desperation of pain avoidance. Because both are terrible, terrible, desperate states to be in. And how can you tell the difference? You can't, you know? Um, so, yeah, those bad gnomes, my migraine gnomes. Well, I mean, to a certain extent, they don't know, they think they're just trying to get out from trapped inside my head. They don't know that they're causing me pain. If they did, they might, do a more gentle approach, or at least an approach that didn't last as long. Get some better tools or something. My goodness. So, yeah, sometimes the only way out is through. Um, I've got all the lights off in the house. Those are street lights out there behind me. Um, I've got my migraine drink, my Red Bull. My ears are ringing. It's got 2 different pitches. That's one of them. And then there's one that's like 3 octaves above that I can't even whistle. That's like that high tension wire sort of screech that you hear that when televisions are on and stuff like that. Yeah, so I've got that one going on at the same time, and it's really loud. Um, and yeah, I mean, I'm not in good shape, folks. I'm not in good shape. So I'm sorry I couldn't be more lively for the live. And I will try and last as long as possible. So, I mean, like, what do you guys do when you get in states like this? I mean, maybe not as severe, but states where it's just suffering, and there's nothing you can do about it. What do you do? I mean, you know, I've done everything I can, and now at this point, all I can do is really say, I turn it over to God. This pain helps keep me humble. I used to get really angry at it, really frustrated, really, self-pitying and despairing, but that doesn't do any good. I mean, I've got a million reasons to feel pity for myself, but, it's not helpful or functional or anything like that. So, um, yeah, talk to me. Talk to me, because I can't carry the show alone tonight. So survival never goes out of style, says Pam. Once you get a migraine, do they go away quickly, or is it like something that wears out over time? It is definitely something that wears out over time. As I said, I had a migraine that lasted for 4.5 years. Every day, same migraine, no break, 4.5 years. It started on January 23rd or somewhere thereabouts, maybe, a day earlier or two. Um, and was it, I think, it was 2001, January 23rd, 2001, until, like, I guess it was April or May when they finally did the occipital nerve stimulator. Um, and yeah, yeah. Um, so or no, it may have been no, it had to have been it was 2003. Yeah, it was 2003, January 23rd, 2003. Um, because I was 29 years old or 30 or something like that. I don't know. Math is not my strong suit right now. So yeah, but nowadays they do. They can last a couple of days sometimes. I've had them last days, but usually no more than 3 days. Um, but like this one I had last night, it went away, it came back again. So, and a lot of times it's connected to weather changes. Because when the barometric pressure changes, we're like little water-filled balloons. Our pressure changes when the atmospheric pressure changes, and so our blood pressure changes. And what covers blood pressure changes? Serotonin and dopamine. Um, so it's usually when it gets really windy, when a low pressure system moves in. That's when I get my migraines. I also get my migraines from the ramp down from stress, not from the ramp up from stress. So, like when I was working, I would get weekend migraines that would start, right after work on Friday and then go away the night, Sunday night, somewhere in there, because it was actually when the stress went away that I got a migraine. I can get exercise induced migraines. Um, that sort of thing. But then again, low grade exercise can also help take my migraines away. Um, so it's one of those things where it's like it's a lot of guesswork sometimes as to what's going to work and what's going to make me feel better, and any of that. Sometimes ice helps. Sometimes ice makes it worse. Sometimes heat helps. Sometimes jumping in the shower. I can't tell you how many times I've fallen asleep in the shower where I'm sitting in the bottom of the tub, just letting the water fall on me, and that's like, it overruns my nervous system because it's all this sensory input everywhere, and I'll have an ice pack on my head and a warm towel around my neck, and yeah, I'll just lay in there in the dark with the water falling on me, and yeah, wake up to a very, very cold shower. you know, Half an hour, 45 minutes later. So, hey, Joanne Dunn. welcome. No problem being late. I'm migrainey, so the stream is kind of uh, interrupted for today. My topic that I wanted to do today is on got kiboshed, it got yeeted. So I've been talking about migraines for the last little bit. Um, and yeah, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm having a bad day. um, oh, thank you, Joanne. She says, "Oh, you poor thing." Um, so yeah, and what I'm trying to do right now is just keep my promise to vlog and document it for you guys to let you guys know kind of what I deal with and how I look when I'm dealing with it. Like one of the things that they have right now is the faces of chronic pain. So this is what I look like. This is how not me I am when I've got a blanket of pain thrown on top of me. So she said, "Oh, hey, praying mantis, good to see you. Oh, thank you for the hugs, and yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Um, it's not fun, but it's not anything that I'm not used to. Um, I've been dealing with this for 18 years now. So, and as I was telling everybody else before you guys came in, my longest migraine lasted 4.5 years, every single day, no break, 4.5 years. So, by comparison, this is nothing. I know that at least in a couple of days, I will be feeling better. Hopefully, by the morning, I will be feeling better. Hopefully, I will be able to sleep tonight, which I should be able to. You know, um, so, but yeah, just to let you know that uh, I am not Superwoman. Um, we all have feet of clay. We all have these things that bring us low, that bring us down. And the depression that I was feeling earlier today was a symptom that the migraine was coming later. But sometimes I don't know that. Sometimes we just have bad days. So it's hard to tell, is this a migraine symptom? Is this migraine depression? And the second the pain kicks in, it's like, oh, yes, it was migraine depression. Okay. So I can ignore any of the awful feelings that I was having earlier today because it was just my brain chemicals going haywire. So Lauren says, well, even when you're sick, you still look beautiful. Oh, bless your heart. Oh, you are so sweet. I do not feel beautiful. But I guess, yeah, the bone structure doesn't go away even when I have a migraine. Um, and it's funny, like when I've gone into the ER and gotten a shot, it's like I come into the ER and they treat me a certain way. And I'm like, why are they treating me so bad? Why are they treating me so bad? And then the pain medicine would kick in and I would brighten up and, my face would lift and they're like, oh my gosh, you must have been in a lot of pain. And I was like, yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, a big F you. It's like, bless your hearts, but F you. Yeah, I was in a lot of pain. People don't normally look that grumpy and miserable unless they are grumpy and miserable. Yeah, my grandmother used to say that healthcare professionals should be all lined up and shot. And sometimes I feel that way too. And she had chronic migraines as well. And so, yeah, I mean, just the inhumanity among those who should be the most humane is frightening sometimes. So, um, yeah, Lawrence says, well, you may not be Superwoman, but you are certainly the woman of wisdom. Oh, well, now, thank you. Uh, that everything that used to be a running joke with my friends back in college. We all played role-playing games, D&D and stuff like that. And they used to say that I have half a hit point, and the DM wouldn't allow me to spend any of my experience points on anything but wisdom. So I've got a 20 whiz and a 1 constitution with half a hit point. So, I mean, you gotta laugh about it because otherwise you'll go nuts. And trust me, I've gone nuts. So nowadays I laugh about it. Joanne says, when I worked in a doctor's office, we always took migraine patients in right away. Oh, where are you so that I can go there? Because usually migraine patients get kicked to the bottom of the barrel. I mean, it's like, okay, you're not bleeding, you're not going to die, you're not having a heart attack, you're just in pain. You're at the bottom of the list. But yeah, some places I've been like that where they have their own like special room for people with migraines that's away from all the beeping machines, and it's dark and it's cold, but you have warm blankets and they rush you in right away and they get an IV in you right away and they just take care of you. And it's like, oh, you guys are going to earn your wings tonight. So, yeah, because and it's not just like, I kind of got the clue that it was migraine pain when I couldn't wear my socks anymore because my socks hurt. So it's little things like that. It's like it just chips away um, at everything that you're able to do in life. So South Carolina, this was years ago. Okay, yeah, yeah, and the way they're punishing pain patients these days is just absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, years ago they probably don't have that anymore, unfortunately. I saw a tweet today where her friend broke her collarbone, and I mean, I've broken my collarbone, so I know how painful that is. And the only thing that they gave her for pain was Tylenol. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. It, Tylenol for a broken collarbone? Are you high? Are you guys using the pain medication in the back room there, and that's why you're out of it? Because that's torture, man. That is absolute torture. And we know that pain, creates a stressful situation in the body, which inhibits healing. I mean, this is against everything that we medically have known for centuries, and it's all a bunch of political BS, and neither party is good about it. So you won't hear me sing anybody's praises on this, Democrat or Republican. So they can both kick rocks. So Pregnantus says, well, I wonder if one of those hyperbaric chambers would help equalize the pressure. It would, but the problem would be coming out of it again. And by the time, you, I mean, I don't know, because that's the thing is that your serotonin production, like a lot of the times they would say like, oh, let's put you on um, an antidepressant medication, a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. I'm like, that's putting a lid on a bucket when there's a hole in the bottom. That's not going to work. The hyperbaric chamber might work in combination with 5-HTP. Yeah, it was a good question. It because 5-HTP is the precursor to serotonin. And so like a lot of times when I'm on the opposite end of a migraine, because while you're in a migraine state, you just keep voiding all the serotonin out of your system. There's a hole in the bucket, and you're not getting any more serotonin in there. Like Imitrex and Relpax and all those other medications are actually serotonin-like molecules, because they did these experiments back in the 90s where they injected somebody with straight serotonin to see if the migraine would go away, and it did. The only problem is that because serotonin controls blood pressure and stuff like that, the side effects are really severe. Like like one of the things that you can feel when you take Imitrex, which is, not even serotonin itself, it's just close enough to, is that, you can get severe chest pains where it feels like somebody's crushing your chest or sitting on you or something like that. And so, the serotonin itself can be very painful. Um, but then later, they did more experiments once they had Imitrex and those kind of things, and they found out that it doesn't actually make the migraine go away. It just makes all the symptoms go away, and at the center of the brain, the migraine is still clicking, still clicking, still clicking, because it all has to do with the trigeminal nerve and uh, the hypothalamus and all sorts of things, structures that are deep, deep, deep within the brain go haywire. And they actually don't even know how migraines stop. They've done a lot of research on how migraines start, but they don't know how they stop. And so that's how you end up with people like me that, because if we knew how they stopped, maybe we could stop them artificially. But no, they've never studied that, and I don't know why. I mean, that seems like an obvious question to me, but no, they've done no studies on that. And So yeah, I'm in good company. Julius Caesar had migraines and seizures. So, and those two are very, very close to each other, migraines and seizures. So a lot of times, migraine medications are used for seizures and vice versa. So, but yeah, if you've got any questions about any of this, feel free. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I haven't quit smoking, is that tobacco actually helps. I had quit smoking before I got my migraine, and then I found out that, and nicotine is a neurotransmitter. I found out that I could take, 6 Advil, which I can't do anymore because it destroyed my kidneys. Take 6 Advil and smoke a cigarette and make a migraine go away. But those were the early days, back before it got worse. And like ergot, which is the rye fungus that makes people hallucinate. It didn't make me hallucinate, but that's what they make LSD out of. That's where the hallucinations from the Salem witch trials, I think, came from, hallucinations while on ergot. Um, and yeah, the ergot is a fungus that gets into the rye, and then you cook it into the bread, and then you eat the bread, and then you get the ergot poisoning. I think House MD had an episode on ergot poisoning. But for a while there, I was a one-woman drain on ergot. Um, they Because it's not a medication that they use very much anymore. It's a very, very old medication, so they don't manufacture a lot of it. And it was ergot and caffeine, and it was called ergotamine. They just smashed the two words together. And I used up the entire supply in the state of Washington, and I used up the entire supply in the state of Oregon, and I used up the entire supply in the state of Idaho, and I was working on Northern California when the migraine went every day, and that's when my doctor said, we need to try something else. So, yeah. And it's all from the pituitary stuff. They know from my pituitary disease that often it comes with chronic migraines, because that's literally my immune system attacking my pituitary gland. And that's why I get migraines, is that whole dysfunction in that area, deep, deep in the brain. So, thank you both. Praying Mantis says, I'm learning a lot from you. Thank you, hon. And Survival says, seriously, Praying Mantis, I've been learning so much from Pam. It's really cool. I am glad. I'm so glad I can be a font of wisdom. I'm not saying that sarcastically. I mean, that's, with everything that I've been through, if I can use my suffering to impart wisdom or knowledge or anything like that, that means that my suffering wasn't just suffering. It has a higher purpose. It has a higher calling. It can help people. And that is a fabulous, fabulous thing. And that's why I always recommend to anybody, if you're down in the dumps or anything like that, try teaching somebody else. What would you say to somebody else who was going through exactly what you're going through? What would you tell them to do to try and help the situation? Because that not only helps you, because we learn more when we teach than when we do something ourselves. Um, and we also, it also gives meaning and purpose to that suffering. Um, so, yeah. And I think it's gotten to the point now where I am going to take a shot of alcohol, which I normally do not do for migraines, but I need to take the edge off of this, so I will be right back. Okay, I am back. And in about 15 minutes, that'll kick in, and maybe I will feel better. So, because I'm at the limits of what I can do. I've taken 2 of my Suboxone, and it's not doing anything more, because I take them in little halves. So I'm at the limit at what that can do. I've taken Tylenol, which I cannot take for another 2 hours. I could take some Advil, um, which I might do if it gets worse, but I've been avoiding Advil because of the COVID. Um, and yeah, so I'm where the rubber hits the road right now. So okay, I gotta catch up on comments now. Survival says, sometimes I have to take a break from being a jackass Trump supporter and come and soak up some knowledge from Pam. Oh, that's great. Oh, man. Yeah, the culture war has just gotten nasty. I mean, it's just gotten nasty, and I don't understand it, because, I'm Gen X. And we didn't care what your skin color was. We didn't care what your religion was. We didn't care about any of those identity boxes. If you were gay, straight, trans, we didn't care. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, who cares? And to see it, go from that in the 90s to where we are now, it's like, what happened? And I mean, I don't care if you're on the left or the right, you should be worried about election fraud, because if they can steal this election, for somebody that you like, what happens when they steal the election from everybody, from somebody you don't like? But, they've set this up where, what would you do to stop the devil himself? I don't know if you guys know the book Ordinary Men, but it's about a group of ordinary men during World War II in Nazi Germany. And, these were farmers and shopkeepers and, regular people. And they were slowly corrupted over time and committed some of the worst atrocities during the Holocaust. And it looks at the, because at first, some of the things that they were ordered to do, shooting people in the back of the head, that sort of thing, they would throw up afterwards. They would get violently ill over some of the things that they were asked to do. And then by the end of the war, they thought nothing of it. They felt justified in what they were doing. They felt like they were on the side of the angels in what they were doing. And so we've kind of seen that progression in the culture war where, would you steal an election to stop the devil himself? Well, who's going to answer no to that? Except, is Trump the devil himself? Really? But that's what the media has done. They've brainwashed a large segment of society into thinking Trump is the devil himself. And I don't agree with everything Trump has done. I have fired off several an angry email to the White House, especially over the drug war, because that needs to stop. But he's not perfect, but he's also not that bad either. But the media is like, oh, he's the next Hitler. And it's like, oh my gosh, you guys have got to be kidding me. If he were the next Hitler, we wouldn't be having these COVID lockdowns. Or we would be having these COVID lockdowns, but it would be Trump doing it, not the governors, not your county commissioner, not your, mayor and crazy stuff like that. But I mean, it's surprising how many people have proven themselves to be, wannabe dictators. Like in my city, the mayor was going to block people from receiving medical care if they came from a county that didn't have lockdowns. Let me repeat that. He was not going to let people go to the hospital and get medical care if they happened to live in a place where their leader said no lockdowns. First of all, how are they responsible for their leader saying no lockdowns? And how are they supposed to force their leader into going into lockdowns? And who are you to block them from getting medical care? Are you insane? But here's this little mayor who would happily be a dictator and let people die, literally, because of some policy he disagrees with. I mean, that's what's so terrifying, is how many of these people, in positions of power and even not in positions of power, all the Karen videos that we're seeing across the internet, all these people who want to force other people to do what they think is right. And it's like, whatever happened to live and let live? Whatever happened to mind your own business? Oh, that's right. 9/11 happened. That's what happened to mind your own business. Oh. So, yeah, it's a strange time to live in. So, oh, now I got to catch it. I haven't been paying attention to the, all right. So, Praying Mantis says, survival, you're not a jackass, and neither are most Trump supporters I have met. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, here we go. I can get pretty obnoxious sometimes, but yeah, most conservative people are chill. Yeah, that's most conservative people don't give a damn. I mean, I used to vote Democrat sometimes because, they were the party of free speech. They were the ones that wanted more freedom. And so, yeah, about the mayor. Yeah, it's very messed up. It's very messed up. So, yeah, and all these people, who just, he thought that he was doing the right thing. I mean, he made that announcement publicly. This wasn't some private thought that he had in his armchair at home saying, oh, these people shouldn't be. No, he was going to make that a mandate. that, people out in the farm country around here could not come into the city to get medical care because the farm country didn't lock down. Well, what's the reason of locking down the farm country? First off, you really want to stop people from farming? Okay, yeah, let's create a famine on top of everything else. That's a great idea. Um, and then, to say, oh, you can't get medical care because of what somebody else says. It's like, yeah, how did any of that make sense in your brain? Seriously, how did any of that make it? Well, they should be, and it's like, no, no, just no. That's a dictator. That's somebody who wants to dictate what other people can do, are going to do. I mean, it's the world is going crazy. The world is going crazy, and it's just it breaks my heart. It it really breaks my heart to see America, the beautiful land of the free, become land of the tyrants everywhere. Not just at federal level, um, but on down the line. And how many of those people exist in the world? It's like, who knew? Who knew that there were that many people running around who wanted to tell me as a fellow adult how I should live my life? You know, um, I don't know how we got here. I mean, they are going to do historical studies. There are going to be books on how America got to this point, and I don't know if it's going to get better or worse from here. I'm really worried that it's going to get worse. That we haven't it hasn't gotten dark enough yet. Um, so that hold on to your hats, folks. Hold on to your hats. Um, Praying Mantis says it breaks my heart too. Most people just want to be left alone, and I am one of those. Right? You know, I mean, I lived in my parents' house until I was an adult and was able to get the F out and do things on my own. My mistakes are mine to bear. People argue, oh, well, COVID, you're getting other people sick. You're killing grandma. It's like, yes and no. I mean, you're going to yell at me, who takes reasonable precautions, while at the same time, you've got people who are urinating in public in the subway system, and that's actually the largest virus vector out there, is human waste. They found out that in Hong Kong, I think it was, that people were catching COVID through the sewer system that was running through the apartment building. So no, it's not necessarily that, I'm going to kill grandma because I'm out walking around without a mask on. One, it's outside. Two, they've figured out that that's such a, it's human waste. You think droplets are a problem, poop is a bigger problem. So, de Blasio in New York is not controlling the poop or the pee on the streets or San Francisco or any other Democrat run cities. And yet they want everybody with these mask mandates and in these lockdowns. And it's like, and we don't even know that the lockdowns work. I mean, they didn't work the first time. Why are we doing it again? The economy is much more important at this point. You will kill more people. I mean, the WHO is screaming, that you're going to have people starving to death because you guys aren't making the excess food you usually make. And it's all going to hell in a handbasket. So, but Survival says that he is optimistic that things will improve. I hope so too. I hope that my negative attitude right now is just from my pain. Um, I would love that to be the case. I don't know though. Um, I want to see how these elections go. If we have 4 years of Biden. I mean, you know, we had 8 years of Obama, and that created the apparatus that allowed them to, you know, spy on private citizens, assassinate private citizens, you know, minors, assassinate children. Um, and so, you know, that was 8 years. Um, you know, what can they do in 4? If they can steal this election, we may not have another free election ever again. Yeah, it's just, there are a lot of scary things on the horizon. Let's put it that way. And I don't have the greatest confidence in people doing the right things when you've got a mayor that's willing to let people die because their mayor or their county commissioner or whatever out in the boonies didn't do a lockdown. I mean, that's the thing that worries me, is that there are too many people out there willing to not do the right thing and feel fully justified and on the side of the angels doing the not right thing, that I don't know. I don't know. You know, 30 years ago, I would have laughed. 30 years ago, I would have laughed. I mean, heck, 10 years ago, I would have laughed. A year ago, I would have laughed if you had told me that this was the state that the world was going to be in. I mean, 2020 has just been an absolute mind blow. You know, just nuclear device off in the head as far as how crazy things have gotten. So, oh my goodness. Don't go getting doomer on me now. American people are waking up. I hope so. And I do try and stay away from the black pills. I don't like being a doomer. You know, I like thinking that there are enough people out there who do understand right from wrong, who do see the tyranny, who, you know, did grow up under communist systems, who do want to see free and fair elections, even though they don't support Trump. You know, I'm hoping that all of that can pull us through, but it's an uphill battle. You cannot tell me it's not an uphill battle. Um, so, oh, hey, praying mantis is one of those people who woke up. All right, that gives me a little bit of hope then. That gives me a little bit of hope. So, yeah, um, that makes me feel better. Thank you, um, to both of you. Uh, if people are waking up, if people are seeing, you know, and sometimes that's why it takes getting so dark before the dawn. You know, things have to get bad enough for people to go, okay, now stop, stop. That's enough. Stop. So hopefully we're getting to that level. I was watching um, the GA hearings over on American Nacho's channel, and I mean the stuff that was coming forward. I mean just how blatant they were being with everything. It's like, you call this a free and fair election? You got to be kidding me! This is a clown show. You know, absolute disgrace. So hopefully, um, you know, hopefully we'll get this turned around. Oh, I missed a comment from Joanne. She said Florida is open at 100%. Fantastic. And our hospitals are not full. Correct. We got the virus, but nobody is dying. Yes. So this we saw in the Spanish flu as well. You know, the first wave of the Spanish flu was bad. Second wave was worse. And then the third wave was minuscule. It was like a ripple. And that's what you see. They actually have the studies where, you know, things get more virulent, and then they get less virulent. So, I mean, like my COVID case, I didn't even wind up in the hospital. And that shocked me. You know, for all intents and purposes, I should have wound up in the hospital with my immune system, with my asthma, with everything else going on with me. I should have, and it was nothing. I mean, I've had worse colds and flus, hands down. You know, I didn't even feel that sick. I didn't, you know, spike a fever, and nothing ever over 99. And even that wasn't that bad. You know, it was like a mild woozy and stabbing pains in my ribs. And that's the only way that you knew it was COVID, was the stabbing pains in the ribs, which is not typical to a cold. But, you know, it was nothing. It was a cakewalk. You know, I had a cold back in October that was worse. So yeah, so it looks like, you know, it may be losing its power, and we may have turned the corner on this whole thing, which speaks great things for 2021. But hey guys, look at the time. I made it through. I made it through a whole hour with a migraine on a live stream. Yay! And I was able to impart some wisdom while I was doing it. So, salute to you. Thank you all for being here tonight. Um, I look forward to the next one tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll be feeling better then. And yeah, you all have a good night. Love you. Talk to you later. Mm. Mm.